Well, it's a new year and a great time for investors to take a look at some of the key trends that will be shaping things to come in the year ahead. And joining me today to talk about all the tech themes taking center stage is Robin Murdoch. He's the Global Industry Managing Director for Accenture's Software and Platforms business. Now, Robin, I see you there at CES. We've got yet another year, it looks like, of maybe being virtual. And last time we talked to you, you said that coming out of the pandemic, that the technology really worked and a lot of tech stocks are doing really well. What accelerations have you seen as we now enter possibly another year of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the show this year, it's a very different show. There are a lot less exhibitors and people, but there's a real buzz. I think people are happy to be back. There are sort of four things that I'm watching that I think are really moving, and you're seeing this at the show. The first one is around TV. At CES, it's always about the big brands releasing the latest TVs with new display technology. In the past it was 4K, it was 3D. But this year we're seeing OLED TVs, amazing visuals. We're all spending so much more time at home, watching movies at home as opposed to in the theater. But what's really interesting this year is not only are the price points of the TVs accessible to the public, but we've now got these amazing content libraries from Netflix, from Apple TV, from HBO Max, from Disney Plus. And that's meaning that we can enjoy this technology more. So you've got this interesting merging where when 4K and 3D came out, there really wasn't any content. We've now got those really coming together. So the first is around TV. The second is around fitness, digital fitness. The pandemic's seen the use of Peloton rise. But we're seeing at the show this year lots of stuff around health and fitness, and the question about how do you create really compelling experiences when you're at home. Companies like Zwift, which have created an amazing cycling community alongside the likes of Peloton, a really interesting space. The third area is actually a very new area that over the last few years, things like webcams really weren't particularly interesting at CES. Maybe you'd see them around, but they're center stage because they're massively important to create these environments where when we're working from home, do we look good? So you're seeing a whole new category emerge, which is really to enable great work from home environment. And then the fourth point really is around connectivity. We all need really good broadband access in home, and we're seeing things like 5G providing an alternative. We also need good connectivity in the home, and there's a new technology standard for Wi-Fi 6, and you're starting to see that show up in devices, like devices that connect your home router and the home Wi-Fi routers themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of these devices that you mentioned, a lot of the smart home connected devices, of course, are powered by chips. And as you well know, the chip shortage has impacted a lot of high-tech, high-growth names over the last couple of years. And what does your research there reveal about some of the impacts that maybe it's having on consumers as well?
It's certainly the case that every sector is feeling the impact of the chip shortage, although it does appear that we're reaching the end of that, and we're starting to see the supply chain very much catch up. And but it's certainly going to be a topic of conversation. We've seen a huge growth in the need for new devices to enable our digital lives, and chips are the foundation of that.
Yeah, and another thing that's generating a lot of buzz there at CES this year is, of course, the Metaverse. Everyone seems to be talking about that. But I think a lot of the initial buzz has been greeted with a little bit of skepticism. It is the very early stages of this new technology. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things investors should look for and how businesses can really harness this opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, the Metaverse is something that everyone is talking about building into their presentations. At CES every year, over the last decade, there are always what's the next big thing that we're going to see? But the reality on the ground is it's still very nascent. When you look for where the Metaverse exists, you've got to look into specific pockets. I mentioned a company called Zwift, which if you're a cyclist and you're maybe more of a prosumer cyclist, lots of people are using the Zwift environment and cycling within that environment. It's a great example of the Metaverse today. A lot of the things that are being spoken about are really the Metaverse of the future. Technologies that are being created right now will be core to what the Metaverse becomes. But yeah, it's a topic that comes up really across the whole of CES. It touches touches almost every element of CES.
Yeah, and are there any other key themes or things that you think investors should keep an eye on as this year unfolds?
Yeah, I think the one other topic, and it's a topic that we're covering a lot at CES, is around the role of social commerce, really the intersection of our social experiences and our buying behaviors. More and more activity is happening at that intersection of social media and commerce. We've just announced some research. We believe the market right now is around $500 billion for commerce that's happening through social platforms. That's going to grow to 1.2 trillion over the next 3 years. And interestingly, for CES, one of the top categories outside of fashion in social commerce is consumer electronics. So social commerce is a really interesting space to be looking at. It's kind of the collision of media, advertising, and commerce coming together, and there is so much creativity, largely coming from China, but starting to see it really take hold in the US.
Well, Robin, thanks so much for your insights today.
Thank you.
And you can follow all of our CES coverage over at investors.com. For Investors Business Daily, I'm Alexis Garcia.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Investors Business Daily on YouTube. If you want to watch more videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.